Hey everybody. So this week in my little mod overview talk show thing, we've got a Half-Life 2 mod called Combine Destiny. Now, I know what you're thinking. Zombie Hobo, you lying asshole. You said you would cover mods other than just Half-Life mods. You're right, I did say that. And I was actually planning to do a video on a mod for Quake called Galactics. It's a pretty fun little mod. It basically turns Quake into a top-down, auto-scrolling bullet hell, reminiscent of Galaga, and it's actually super fun. The only reason I didn't do a video on it is because I beat the whole thing in 12 minutes. Yeah, as cool as it was, it's basically a tech demo, something to show off the near-infinite flexibility of the Quake engine, so there's not really a whole lot to talk about there. I'll just say Galactics, Quake mod, get it on ModDB, it's really cool. So, back to the main subject of this video, Combine Destiny. As I said earlier, it's a mod for Half-Life 2. What makes it really cool though, or one of the things that makes it really cool, is that this is one of the very first mods that was ever made for Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is probably one of the most famous modding scenes in gaming history, and the only other game that I can think of that's ever surpassed it in terms of sheer output by the community is Doom. Over the years, we've gotten countless Source Engine mods that have gone on to become juggernauts of gaming culture. I think pretty much everyone who has a Steam profile owns a copy of Gary's Mod and has played it for at least an hour. Stuff like Insurgency went on to become its own game, Age of Chivalry had much the same story, plus all the different single-player mods that served as debut titles for teams that would later become full-fledged studios. That's after 20 years of modding though. I just realized after typing that sentence out that Half-Life 2 is 20 years old now, and that kind of fucks me up, so let's just move on. The point I was trying to make is that with all these impressive and shiny new releases, it can be easy to forget just how simplistic things started out as. Combine Destiny is a pretty good example of that simplicity. No new content, no new assets, bare bones story where the only setup is that you're a Combine soldier, but that was all anyone expected back then. The Source Engine was brand new and freakishly impressive, so people were just amazed that they had the ability to make AAA quality games from their parents' basement. I'm getting way ahead of myself though. I should probably give you the basic setup first. The story of Combine Destiny, what little there is that you play as a member of the Combine Overwatch who has been sent to help with an assault on a rebel base near the recently uprisen town of Coonersville. Let's take a moment to really appreciate that name, fucking Coonersville. I imagine the revolution there went down like, hey boy, them Combine coastal elites done said I gotta turn in my AR-15 and watch 20 hours of CNN a week. Hell nah, government can't make me graze my cattle in a different field. Get your scattergun, Bill Clem, we gonna have us a revolution. The Tea Party'll never die. So yeah, that's the story. My next door neighbors have gotten ornery, and you play as the ATF agent sent to carry out Operation Waco 2 Headcrab Boogaloo. That little narrative hook, which you get from the ModDB description, is literally the only storytelling you get. That may sound like a bad thing, but remember, this was 2005. In-depth storytelling wasn't something that was really expected from mods back then. Especially in this instance, as from what I can tell, similar to the last two mods I've covered, this was a one-man job for the most part, created by some Frenchman who jumped on the Source modding train about as soon as it pulled up to the station. He didn't have access to voice actors or anything like that, and presumably he was still getting to grips with the SDK, like everyone was at the time, so expecting something on par with the base game is a little silly. There are messages that pop up on the screen sent to you by Overwatch Command that basically boil down to, oh fuck, this isn't going how we planned. Speaking of which, it seems that the Rebellion has run into a big issue with the zombie infestation because the base you spend most of the game in is absolutely overrun with the undead. You actually spend a lot more time fighting zombies and headcrabs than you do rebels, who you only actually have like a couple of encounters with. The mod has a pretty big focus on trying to create a fairly creepy atmosphere. The lighting is very dark, which can get a little annoying because in base HLT your flashlight and sprint use the same bar, so you end up having to wait for the shit to turn back on a lot. It's not unbearable, it's just a minor annoyance. One thing that really stood out to me was the difficulty. This mod is surprisingly tough. You don't get a lot of ammo, so you really have to conserve your bullets. Health and power stations are also pretty rare, so for most of the mod, I was basically on death's door. That kinda adds to the atmosphere of the mod. The layout of the base you go through feels almost abstract. I can't really tell what the purpose of any of it is supposed to be, and a few parts feel almost surreal with how big and empty some of the rooms are. I think maybe it was supposed to have been some kind of sewer system or treatment plant, but I'm really not sure. I think if I had to get really nitpicky, the only real problem I could think of with the mod is that it doesn't really do a whole lot to make you feel like a Combine soldier. Like I said earlier, you only fight rebels a handful of times, and the only indication you otherwise have that you're an Overwatch trooper is the HQ messages and that you occasionally have a few other bad dudes follow you. Speaking of which, of flaws I mean, you also have to put up with a little bit of jank that comes from this being an early Source mod. Check out this clip I got of the world's most scuffed elevator. The best part is that I actually got 2 highlights for the price of 1 out of this thing, because standing right behind was the world's most scuffed squad mate. That's part of the charm, though, of this kind of thing. There's an earnestness to the simplicity of mods like this. It wasn't made by a professional or a paid dev, just an enthusiast who had a simple idea and wanted to mess around with the engine and see what he could do with it. When I was a kid, I didn't have a gaming PC, so the only way I could play Half-Life 2 was on the Orange Box on 360. I didn't have access to any mods or anything like that, so I would have to watch no commentary playthroughs on early YouTube if I wanted to check one out. Combine Destiny wasn't one of them, but it's from the same era and it feels very reminiscent of many of the other ones I did watch. I know there's been a pretty big market for source engine nostalgia these days. Entire channels have been built off it, and there's at least 100 videos a week about old source games being creepy or liminal or what the fuck ever buzzword is popular with Zoomers now. So if you're feeling the urge to experience some of that for yourself, I'd say give this mod a shot. It's a fun little ride through the early days of Half-Life 2 modding. I beat it in about 2 hours, and I'm someone who likes to explore, so I'm sure most people could probably beat it faster. With all that said, I hope you liked the video. I hope you'll come around for the next one. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Now into the outro. Hey everybody, if you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thanks. It means a whole lot. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all your standard YouTube outro stuff that you always hear. And other than that, I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.